Mike Conway still our championship leader by 11 points, but it is Tom Sisley who's on pole, and ironically it's his teammate Paul Di Resta who brings up the rear. He had an electrical problem in qualifying, so unfortunately he didn't get a proper attempt at qualifying. So we have the two Overtake teammates at either end of the grid, Tom Sisley at the front and Paul Di Resta right at the back. So he moves into place, we get the lights about to come on, there we are, the red light comes on, and we're racing at Silverstone. Tom Sisley cuts across immediately to defend his position from James Rossiter. Rossiter, the winner last time out at Thruxton, almost squeezing him on the grass. He slots in behind Tom Sisley as they go, and there's an accident in the mid-pack. Philip Glue, that is, in the silver and red car, and there's a lot of damage to the back end. He spins round again. Hopefully no one else will hit him, and that's the end of his race very quickly on the run down towards the first corner. Well, that's very, very disappointing for Philip Glue. Meanwhile, the leaders are getting around safely, and it's Tom Sisley who leads at the moment. But let's just take a look back at what happened. Now, at the start, Lewis Hamilton was busy squeezing Alex Lloyd as Tom Sisley squeezed out Rossiter. But in the mid-pack there you can see the yellow car there getting out of shape and hitting Philip Glue. And I think, in fact, that was Daniel Welch, but he may well have had a bit of contact from someone else, which pitched him sideways and then punted him into Philip Glue. And sadly, Philip Glue, his race is done. I don't think there was an awful lot he could have done about that. Let's see what it was like on board with Philip Glue. You're driving along, no problems at all, down towards the first corner, bang, round it goes. And then the car's damaged, of course, and there's no way he can drive out of trouble. Every time he gets on the throttle, the thing just spins round on him, rear wheel flapping in the air. End of race for Philip Glue. Now back to our race leader. It is Tom Sisley with James Rossiter chasing, and that's a spinner, and that's Mike Conway, championship leader, has spun down at the Abbey hairpin, and we didn't see quite what happened to start that, but Conway rejoining, having lost a great deal of time, and that's going to affect his championship hopes, obviously. Alex Lloyd, his nearest rival, and he's running in third at the moment as the safety car comes out onto the circuit. Obviously, the officials deeming it a dangerous situation with cars out there, and the drivers will have to slow down once they see that safety car. Well, in fact, the safety car lining up on the start-finish line virtually, but not moving very quickly at all, hardly moving, and everybody's steaming round Woodcote there, suddenly having to get, and in the background, sure enough, it's a concertina situation, and somebody there in trouble, and in fact, that's Matthew Wilson, who's missing the front end of his car already. He ran into the back of somebody else because they were all slowing down in such a hurry. Well, very disappointing for Wilson, son of Malcolm Wilson, who heads up the Ford rally program. And Matthew, circuit racing rather than rallying. Let's see what happened. Now notice the safety car on the left-hand side of the picture was stationary virtually, and it should really have been moving at speed there, because suddenly, unsighted, the drivers come round Woodcote, suddenly have to hit the brakes. Now, that happens for a while and everyone's okay, but as you get down to the midfield, they don't know what's going on, of course. They come round Woodcote, they suddenly have to hit the brakes, bam! And Wilson running into the back of the car in front of him, which had suddenly braked in seeing other cars slowing ahead. Here's another view, watch from the right-hand side, coming into shot there. And it looks like David Epton, who also lost his nose in that. So, well, it was all just everybody bunching up together there, and there was not a lot anyone could do about it. So really, safety car should, I think, have been moving a little more quickly than that when it picked up the leaders. Now, weather conditions have been a little bit changeable here today, and I have to say they're getting worse at the moment with umbrellas going up. Now, just take a look at this replay. This was at the start, Lewis Hamilton versus Alex Lloyd. He tried to squeeze him out a little bit, but then Lloyd came through at Copse. Now, weather has changed, and therefore teams are preparing their wet tyres, but I don't think we're going to see too many pit stops being made, not in this class of racing. The rain's not falling that heavily yet, and if you make a pit stop, you'll lose a huge amount of time. Safety car in. The race is underway once again as they cross the line now. Tom Sisley leads, but look at the raindrops on the camera. Conditions out there are going to be very, very tricky indeed. They're on their slick racing tyres, no tread whatsoever, and once the surface gets slippery, they can be a little bit all over the place. Good battles going on further down the order as well. Mike Spencer versus Sergio Jimenez a bit further back, but up front it's Tom Sisley who leads. He's very experienced, so perhaps this change in conditions will suit him as he tries to pull away from James Rossiter. Rossiter a little less experienced at this level, and well, let's see how he gets on. Third place for Alex Lloyd, fourth place for Lewis Hamilton, and then right behind him in fifth place it is Robert Scott. And here comes Hamilton down the outside of Lloyd into the hairpin. Oh, and that's a good move, but can he get a good exit as well? Looks like he can. So Lewis Hamilton diving down the outside, and that puts him up into third place ahead of Alex Lloyd, and Lloyd now has Robert Scott to worry about right behind him. Here's a replay. Late on the brakes goes Lewis Hamilton despite the slippery conditions, gets it turned in, bit slow mid-corner. Alex Lloyd has to lift off the throttle, and it's game over from then really. As soon as he had to lift, Lewis Hamilton was safe and secure in third place. Meanwhile, here's the battle between Mike Spencer and Sergio Jimenez. Jimenez, the Brazilian Formula Renault champion of last year. Mike Spencer, the Formula Zip champion from last year, racing on the UK circuit, so he knows the track well. But up against a pretty experienced campaigner in Sergio Jimenez. Probably doesn't rain too often in Brazil, but I'm sure he's done some racing in these sort of conditions before. Behind them is Susie Stoddart, and then there's a good little battle going on behind those two as well. There's Fabian Coulthard and Stefan Soderberg immediately behind, with Charles Hollings in the battle too. So this is quite a big group. Fabian Coulthard, the New Zealander, he's on the attack now, trying to get past Susie Stoddart. Ooh, not quite able to. Back down the inside, side by side, nearly contact. Oh, there is contact. Squeezes past, and that was all getting a bit fraught. And oh, that's problems for Susie Stoddart. That contact obviously has affected the car. She's out of it. Meanwhile, Fabian Coulthard still in a battle with Susie Stoddart's teammate, Matteo Mengello. Now he's trying to go down the outside. Coulthard's in the middle, Charles Hollings on the inside. Great racing here at Silverstone. This is getting tough. As Mike Conway, championship leader coming into this race, trying to make up for lost ground. He had a spin earlier on in the race. He got a little bit of a squeeze from Lewis Hamilton, ended up over the curbs. But now he's trying to make up some of that lost ground and battling with Matteo Mengello. Now we're riding with Lewis Hamilton. He's going extremely well in these conditions, I have to say, lapping quickly, and look at this, suddenly he's closed up to second place man, James Rossiter, and he's going to go through. Rossiter got sideways there, made a mistake. Lewis Hamilton is through and into second place, making it look easy, but I tell you, these conditions are very difficult. It's been raining for a little while, they're running on slick racing tyres, much less grip than they're used to. They're slithering around, and it's very difficult to judge how much grip there is at each and every corner. There's our race leader, Tom Sisley, but look how much closer Lewis Hamilton has got to him. Very late on the brakes in these conditions, but still keeping the car under control, and Hamilton is closing up to our race leader. Third place then is James Rossiter, the winner at Thruxton last time out, but perhaps just finding these conditions more tricky. Some of these drivers will have set their cars up perhaps with a bit of a compromise setup, knowing that the weather was looking changeable. Other drivers, I'm sure, will have just set the cars up for the dry. That's how the track was when they started. And certainly looks to me as though Tom Sisley's desperately trying to find different parts of the circuit. He's not on the conventional line. He's looking for a bit more grip off the conventional racing line, which usually gets very slippery once the rain starts to fall. Alex Lloyd coming through in fourth place. He's still in the hunt as well. But Tom Sisley, so far so good for him. As Lewis Hamilton gets that little bit closer, lap by lap. Top four come through. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Robert Scott, who's running in fifth place. And further down the order, there's Matteo Mengello. Mengello, who has been in a few little battles so far this race. Oh, Mike Conway coming down the inside there and managing to get involved with his own teammate James Murphy in the number 43 car. Conway almost lost it then. He got a wheel on the curb, and these curbs are so slippery when it starts to rain that you can so easily lose control of the car. Now, further back, Mike Conway battling with Charles Hollings, and right behind them is Paul di Resta. He started at the back of the grid, if you remember, after his troubles in qualifying, and he's made tremendous progress. These conditions perhaps suiting the young Scotsman. There he is, just over the curb, slightly there, but the 17-year-old, who's a cousin to Dario Franchitti, racing in the IRL IndyCar series in the United States nowadays. Paul di Resta, great karting background, and he's driving well. But there's his teammate, Tom Sisley, still leading this race. Look how wide he goes. That's on purpose. That's intentional because he's looking for grip. But right behind, we're riding with Lewis Hamilton in second place, and look how close we are now to the race leader. Look at Lewis Hamilton also looking for grip, seeking out different parts of the track. Right around the outside here, unconventional line. He does cut back in actually, whereas Sisley stays out wide. A difference in technique. Will it work? Through Woodcote corner, sweeping right-hander that in the wet is actually quite tricky. In the dry conditions, it's flat out easily. Now down towards Copse corner. The spray really being kicked up off these slick racing tyres now. Out towards the edge of the track. Again, Lewis Hamilton can't quite gain any momentum at that part of the circuit. James Rossiter still running in third. Then it's Alex Lloyd in fourth, Robert Scott in fifth, and Alex Storkenfeldt in sixth position. Oh, Lewis Hamilton made a mistake there, got on the curb, held it well, and stays in second place. But that's all you need to do, is just put a wheel on a curb, and suddenly you can be history. In fact, Hamilton controlled it well and is still in the battle. But it did drop him a little bit of ground, as you can see. Top four coming through, and then there's this gap back to Robert Scott, who's having one of his best outings of the year. In fact, it is his best outing, I'm sure. 8th place, his previous best this season for the 20-year-old from Omagh in Northern Ireland. Running with the same team as James Rossiter, who's there in third place. Alex Lloyd in fourth position, second in the championship at the moment. And there is Robert Scott. He's chased by Alex Storkenfeldt in the number 22 car. More battles further back as well, but still Lewis Hamilton looking for a way through. Now, once again, Sisley using almost all the road. He's almost on the grass. He turns in so wide and so deep through Luffield. We're back on board with Lewis Hamilton. It's about as much as he can see as well, through his visor, of course. And that's a tricky corner. Woodcote flat out in the wet on slicks. Not easy at all. Down towards Copse. Notice how much later they're on the power, and we've got two cars spun, and that's Philip Kershaw and Mattia Mengello, who are off at the side of the track and beached by the look of it for Mengello. Race leaders are at the opposite end of the circuit, but this part's a bit of a worry. Waved yellow flags down there, of course, with these two cars in very vulnerable positions, I have to say, on the outside of the Priory left-hander. So Tom Sisley sees Lewis Hamilton no doubt appearing in his mirrors, if he can see anything through the spray. And down towards the Abbey hairpin they come, hard on the brakes. This is where Hamilton's pretty late on the brakes. He goes in very wide, very deep. Look at that wide line again. Scrabbling for grip, looking for traction. Great exit out of there. Oh, this is a great run from Lewis Hamilton. He's on the attack as they come up towards Bridge Corner. Now there's a stationary yellow a bit further ahead, but Hamilton gets in front before they get there, and he sweeps ahead of Tom Sisley. Now they're in the yellow zone for those cars that are off. So Sisley can't repass here. Hamilton's got in front of Tom Sisley, and that was an absolutely vital move, and he just about had it completed as they came over the hill towards that stationary yellow, so he should be okay. Of course, no overtaking is allowed under yellow flags, and the yellow flag's still out for this incident that has Philip Kershaw's car being picked up by the crane. Well, Hamilton seems to be reveling in these conditions. Very difficult, as I mentioned, on these slick tyres with so much rain around. Safety cars out, well, that's no great surprise. Again, it's partly the conditions, partly the cars off at the side of the circuit. But let's take another look at that pass. Hamilton went in very, very deep into this corner, braked very late, and now look, watch him. He cuts back. Sisley is scrabbling for grip on the normal line. Hamilton's found real grip on a late apex, and it rockets him out of the corner. He has a brilliant exit. Now he's accelerating up the hill. The stationary yellow's up there, but Hamilton's ahead here before they get to the yellow, just in front. So he's okay. He's allowed to do that as long as he passed before the yellow flag, and that's how Hamilton took the lead. Let's take another look from on board. See how wide he is here. And now on the power. He got great traction there, and he's already basically ahead by now, and you can just see the yellow flag up on the left. Very difficult to see, but he was ahead there before they got to the right-hander at Bridge, and now into the waved yellow zone, of course, and no more overtaking. But the safety car out, and I do wonder whether they're going to actually finish under safety car conditions. The red flags being prepared, I think, with so many laps completed, 13 laps nearly completed already out of 15, and it does look as though we may well see this race brought to a slightly early conclusion. The conditions are so difficult, and I think Lewis Hamilton is going to take his first win of the season under a red flag, as he just got in front of Tom Sisley before the safety car came out. Well, certainly a brilliant drive in very tricky conditions. There we are, the red flag has been brought out, no great surprise, and Lewis Hamilton will take his first win of the season after surviving these very difficult conditions at Silverstone. But it's going to be Lewis Hamilton taking his first win of the year. He took 3 wins last year. He came in as the pre-season favourite. Pressure's been tough on him. He hasn't taken a win up to this point. He went off at Brands Hatch, but here he comes to take his first win of the season, and he will be absolutely delighted about that. So will the boys at McLaren, who support Lewis Hamilton through his racing. So Tom Sisley has to settle for second place in the end, ahead of James Rossiter and Alex Lloyd. Robert Scott, a fine 5th place, his best of the season. Alex Storkenfeldt 6th, ahead of Mike Spencer, Sergio Jimenez and Fabian Coulthard, with James Murphy taking 10th.